On the 4th of July, 2016, a machine built by human hands did something no machine had ever survived. It fell into the most violent place in our solar system, and it started sending numbers back. The numbers were wrong. Not slightly wrong. Wrong in a way that meant Scott Bolton and the 200 people who had spent 15 years of their lives on that spacecraft had to sit down and consider something uncomfortable. That our story of how this solar system was born, the story in every textbook, might be broken. Here is a second thing, and I want you to sit with it. The storm you are looking at has been raging for at least 350 years. It is dying, right now, in our lifetime, and no one can tell you what happens to that much energy when it goes. And a third, Jupiter is wrapped in something invisible that would kill you before you saw it. A field of radiation so violent that our spacecraft had to be built with a vault of titanium at its heart just to keep its brain alive long enough to look. And by the end of this, you're going to see that they might all be the same one. Juno left Earth in 2011. It took 5 years to get there. It was not sent to admire Jupiter. It was sent to look underneath it. For a century, we assumed the same thing, that deep inside all that gas, there had to be a seed, a dense ball of rock and metal, maybe 10 times the mass of our entire planet, buried under 30,000 miles of crushing hydrogen. That seed was the whole theory. Grab a rock, grow it, and the gas comes later. So Juno measured the gravity. If there's a hard core down there, gravity tells you. It always tells you. There was no hard core. Instead, the heavy elements were smeared, spread out across half the planet, blurred into the hydrogen like sugar stirred into water and left to dissolve. Scientists call it a dilute core, a fuzzy core, which is a very calm phrase for we don't know what happened here. Because there is one explanation that fits the numbers uncomfortably well. That somewhere in the first few million years, something enormous, a young planet, roughly 10 times the mass of Earth, hit Jupiter head on. Not a glancing blow, straight through the middle. Deep enough to shatter the core and stir it into the gas forever. If that's true, Jupiter is not just the biggest planet in this system, it's the crime scene. And there was a world here that we will never know the name of. Now hold that thought, because it's about to matter. In the 1800s, astronomers who had never seen a photograph of a planet were sketching that red eye by hand. And in their sketches, it is enormous. Wide enough to swallow 3 Earths side by side with room left over. Today, it barely fits one. It has been shrinking for 150 years, and in the last decade, it started shrinking faster. It's getting taller as it narrows, deepening as it contracts, like something being squeezed in a fist. Recent measurements found it wobbling, speeding up, slowing down, changing shape on a cycle no one predicted. Here's the part that unsettles people who study this for a living. Nobody knows why it lasted 300 years in the first place. Storms on Earth die in days. They run out of ground to feed on. This one has no ground. It has no bottom. Juno's instruments traced its roots down at least 200 miles into the planet, into darkness we cannot see the end of. We never understood why it lived, so we have absolutely no idea what its death means. And if you think a dying storm is the strangest thing about this planet, you haven't met what's guarding it. Jupiter generates a magnetic field roughly 20,000 times stronger than Earth's. It is the largest structure in the solar system that isn't the Sun. If you could see it from here on a clear night, it would look bigger than the full moon, several times bigger. And that field does something monstrous. It takes particles, atoms stripped down to nothing, and it accelerates them until they are moving at a meaningful fraction of the speed of light. Then it holds them there, in belts, circling the planet for as long as the planet keeps spinning.
An unshielded human being in that environment would receive a lethal dose in minutes. Not a dangerous dose, a lethal one. Electronics fail, memory corrupts. The instruments simply stop being able to tell the truth. That's why Juno's brain sits inside a box of titanium, and why every single orbit is designed to sprint through the worst of it and get out. Now, one of Jupiter's moons has an ocean under its ice. More liquid water than every ocean on Earth combined. It may be the best place in this solar system to look for life that isn't us. And it sits inside the radiation. Everything we send there is on a timer from the moment it arrives. But I want to leave you with a thought that I don't think we take seriously enough. What if the radiation isn't just a barrier? What if it's a lock, keeping something in? Because we have always assumed that wall was there to stop us getting in. The most promising doorway we have ever found sits behind the most hostile thing we have ever measured. And the universe has never once explained why. Here's the last thing, and it ties the others together. Jupiter radiates more heat than it receives from the Sun. It is still cooling from its own birth 4.5 billion years ago, and it is still shrinking by about a centimeter every year, quietly, forever. It got close, somewhere between 70 and 80 times its current mass, and hydrogen would have ignited in the middle of it, and we would have grown up under 2 suns. It didn't get there, so it became this instead. A thing with a shattered heart, a dying storm, and a field of radiation around it like a wall. And that same mass, the mass that almost made it a star, has been pulling comets and asteroids away from us for 4 billion years. The thing that terrifies our instruments may be the reason we're standing here at all. I keep coming back to one question, and I don't think there's a clean answer to it. Is Jupiter the shield that let life happen here, or is it the warning of what almost happened instead? Tell me which one you believe. I read every one of them. Because next, we're going somewhere that raises the same question in a different voice. A world wearing rings made of something that shouldn't be there. Rings that are disappearing, falling right now into the planet that made them. That story is already in progress. Stay with me for it.